In this video, we'll continue to look at slope and see how we can find the slope if we are given 2 points that are on the line. So remember, slope is a rate of change. That tells us the steepness of the line. The higher the number we get, the steeper the line is. And slope, we think about it in a few different ways. It's the rise over the run, or the change in the y-coordinates over the change in the x-coordinates. Or we can use this formula, y2 minus y1 and x2 minus x1. Notice we put the vertical components in the numerator and the horizontal ones, the ones going across, in the denominator. So let's take a look at a first example. Find the slope of the line passing through these points, 7, 1 and negative 3, negative 4. So in this example, I'm going to say 7 is my first x-coordinate and 1 is my first y-coordinate. Negative 3 will be my second x-coordinate, and negative 4 will be my second y-coordinate. But you can see I could switch it around. I could make 7, 1 the second x and the second y-coordinate, and negative 3, negative 4 the first x and the first y-coordinate, and I'll show you how that works. So I'm going to use this formula here, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. This is going to give me the change in the y-coordinates. So I take my y2, which is negative 4, and I subtract my y1, which is 1. And I put all that over negative 3, because that's my x2. And notice that negative 4 and negative 3 were coordinates together, and they're right on top of each other. And then I'm going to subtract from negative 3. I am going to subtract the 7. So negative 4 minus 1 is negative 5. Negative 3 minus 7 is negative 10. I'm going to simplify this. My slope is 1 over 2, because negative over a negative is a positive. But let's say we switch things around, and I wanted my x2 to be the 7 and my y2 to be the 1. And then negative 3 was my x1 and negative 4 was my y1. Well, I could subtract here y2 minus y1. So 1 minus negative 4 over, it would be 7 minus a negative 3. 1 minus negative 4 is positive 5. 7 minus negative 3 is positive 10. You see we get the same slope, 1 over 2. So it doesn't matter really which coordinates you choose as your x1 and y1. You just need to be consistent with them. And then some people are visual people, so let's think about like what we were doing here. 7, 1 is like somewhere around here. And negative 3, negative 4, let's say it's about here. Well, what am I showing with my slope? I'm showing that I'm going up 5 units, if I read this from left to right, and then I'm going to the right 10 units. And that's how I'm getting my slope of 1/2. Here's another example. Okay, so I'm going to label this one here. This will be my x1, y1. But again, you could change it. You could make this x2, y2. And this is my x2, y2. So I'm going to subtract 7 minus negative 4. And that's going to go over 3 minus 9. Well, 7 minus negative 4, that's a positive 11. 3 minus 9 is negative 6. My slope here is negative 11 over 6. And I'm going to leave it like this improper fraction, because this gives me some really good information. This tells me that when I go from one point to another, I am going to go down 11, and then I'm going to go to the right 6. A negative over a positive is a negative. All right, why don't you try this one on your own? So I want to find the difference in the y-coordinates and put that over the difference in the x-coordinates. So I'm going to start with 14, and I'm going to subtract 11. But since I started with 14 as my first number in the numerator, then 12, its corresponding coordinate, needs to be the first number in the denominator. And then I'm going to subtract 3. 14 minus 11, that's 3. 12 minus 3 is 9. I always want to simplify this. My slope is 1 over 3. For every unit I go up, I move to the right 3 units. That's what that slope is telling us. All right, here's another one for you to try. All right, I'm going to subtract here. I'm going to start with negative 8, and then I'm going to subtract 8. And on the denominator, since I started with negative 8, then I need to start here with the 9, and I want to subtract 3. Negative 8 minus 8 is negative 16. 9 minus 3 is 6. I need to simplify this fraction. Negative 8 over 3. And that is my slope. So what does that mean? That means I'm going to go from one point to the next. Reading from left to right, I'm going to go down 8 units. And I'm going to go to the right 3 units. But let's say I was reading it the opposite way, and I was reading it from right to left. Well, then I'd be going up 8 units, and left, which is negative, 3 units. All right, let's look at this example from the previous class and try to generalize some things about slopes of the line. The purple line, which I worked out in blue, has a slope of 5. It goes up 5, it goes to the right 1. And that is a positive number. So a positive slope is going to go up and to the right. That's going to be a positive slope. Up and to the right. But then let's look at the green line. The green line has a slope of negative 3 over 2. It went down 3 and the right 2. So a negative slope is going to go down and to the right. Okay? If a line goes up and it goes to the left, so let's think about this. If the line goes up and to the left, well, up would be positive, left would be negative, so that would also be a negative slope. Or if a slope of a line, if it went down and to the left, down would be negative, left would be negative, negative over negative is positive. So usually when I look at this, I'm just reading it from left to right, but you can also read it backwards and it still works out. What about the slope of this line? You see it here on negative 3. What would the slope of this be? If you said 0, you'd be correct, because if you take any 2 points here, and I subtract the y-coordinates, so negative 3 minus negative 3 over the x-coordinates, 3 minus 1, notice I get 0 over 2. The slope of this line is 0. How about this line? What's the slope here? Well, if I try to calculate the slope, right, my y-coordinate, let's say, is 5 at the top there. My second y-coordinate is 2. What's my x-coordinate? My x-coordinate is 4, and my second x-coordinate is also 4. 3 over 0 is what I get as my slope. We can't divide by 0, so we say this slope of a vertical line is undefined. So we can generalize here a little bit about the slopes. A positive slope, again, is going to go up and to the right. A negative slope is going to go down and to the right. 0 slope goes straight across horizontally. An undefined slope goes up and down vertically. And this is how you find slope.